Hello there! Before we begin, I'm popping in to say that because of the length of this video, the need to get it out in a timely manner, and the fact that this is not really a story time or fairy tale animation, I'm gonna be toning down the number of moving and animated things. Just this once. This is not typical of my channel, but I feel the need and pressure to get this video out ASAP. Also, this video is more about the words, not so much the visuals. Okay, on with the show. So, you want to work in animation? Were you inspired by a show or movie as a kid and want to bring that to the world now as an adult? Well, I did too. Heck, I did and still do. This video is gonna be a little bit different. I'm gonna be a whole lot of Frank. Now here's the reason I'm making this video in particular. I've seen so many talented creators gain a great following on YouTube and then decide to go to school to pursue an education in animation to find a job at some animation studio. And I just can't say nothing. I also went down this path, the school to hopefully jobs path, and I wish someone had told me what I'm gonna say to you now. Not to crush your dreams, that's kind of the opposite of the whole point of this channel, but I'm gonna be laying a lot on the line here. If you already have a successful YouTube channel, that's kind of an endgame in itself. Anything you could want to do, you can springboard from your channel. Now, I don't know everyone's individual motivations for pursuing education to enter the corporate animation machine. They could have solid reasoning. But going to school to improve your art for your channel seems like a huge time and money sink. Invest in yourself and take time to learn tricks of the trade while working on the quality of the channel that makes it all possible. School is a chunk of time and money if you're in the States that you'll never get back. And I'm speaking as someone who has gone through the traditional get the jobs and be secure forever route. That old route is dying out. It's no longer viable. You are already past it. So what's my experience with this? I went to school. I focused on animation. Finding jobs was really difficult, but I found them. My first official industry job was a learning experience. Not creative at all, but it was a cool project and I got an eye-opener on how disposable employees are, how newbies get to do the most excruciatingly painful of tasks, and got to work third shift too. I learned what extortion and exploitation were, how little creative voice I had, and how job security is a myth. I moved on. I grew, worked on different jobs, learned what my time was worth. I worked in corporate tech for years doing that clean, fresh motion graphics, infographic style that everyone loves. Then I made the leap to freelance and work on similar animation projects, but with a much broader and more creative scope. Each project is different and that keeps me creatively alive. I get to flex so many different animation muscles and I love it. 2D and 3D and technical and whimsical. And now I've carved out a nook of time to finally do YouTube. I made this channel where I get to be the weird, quirky lady that I don't necessarily get to be in other projects. I need this channel after working in corporate animation for years. So for me, it's beyond backwards and baffling how someone with such success could possibly want to dump time and money into an education that will only let them start at the beginning of the corporate studio machine. And honestly, having a large following online could hinder opportunities as well, because a company will see you as a liability and a flight risk. Anyway, without further ado, let's talk about what it's really like working in corporate animation studios. This is just the highlights. We can do deeper dives if you want. Little creative voice, grunt work, cog in the machine. My first job was an opportunity of a lifetime. It was pure underpaid grunt work. Seriously, I wanted to make beautiful environmental stories. I still do, and today finally I do, but rewind. So you want to get into an animation studio and be part of a team that makes magic and dreams? Get ready to be the expert on hand tweens or masking out individual hair strands that are slightly blurry. Really big and really cool things take an army of creators. Get ready to do the nitty-gritty that no one will ever remember as the iconic part of an animated series or movie. Someone's got to do it. Might as well be the new recruit. If you want to actually have creative say, you're going to want to look at smaller studios and lighter teams. And odds are you'll be working under many others who have way more creative say and expression than you'll get for years. If the studio stays open that long, and if they keep you around that long, that is. Just because you were inspired by something cool, be it an animation, video game, or whatever, as a child does not mean that you should subject yourself to be extorted or exploited by studios, by employers, by clients, by anybody. Yeah, I crunch on my own videos now, so of course I'll do it if someone else is paying me. Yikes! Most crunch scenarios are unwritten rules of a shady company, trying to guilt you into working for the good of the family, and because you love this project, because that's what they want you to think of it as. It's a family until you want to talk raises, take PTO, or, like, live. Crunch goes hand in hand with doing things above and beyond the job description. You may think that it looks awesome, and of course you think they'll just have to give you a raise, but in reality, they see it as you are willing to do hundreds of hours of work for 30 hours pay. The shady company has no financial interest in paying what you're worth. They will just let you go and hire another fresh animator who has no idea what their worth is. Cheaper to keep onboarding than pay overtime and livable wages. Losing your baby. This one is kind of like for later down the line, but if you already have a YouTube channel, you have this thing that you can control the art direction of and story and voice, and it's yours. It's from your soul. Now, if you work for someone else, your personal IP that you've been creating since you were a baby, you can pitch the best idea for an animated show or series, and if it's accepted, it becomes a real thing. How cool! However, it can be a cool thing without you on the project. It is now owned by Megacorp, and legally you can no longer touch it. Make sure you get someone savvy in contracts to help you with things like this, because you could lose your creative baby. Underpaid, the system of hiring newbies. Something I like to call the rotating door, aka extortion, or hiring the naive recent grads who don't know what their time is worth and that we will fire the second the project wraps up so we don't have to offer them benefits or healthcare or, God forbid, a livable wage, but we will call them up the second we win a bid on another project and need to perform for cheap. Okay, right, so story time. After college, I worked on a big, quirky secret film by a director that I adored. I was so proud. It was like a fairy tale. If you know me, you know that I love a certain creepy aesthetic and direction. And this was an opportunity my young, inspired, starstruck self could just not pass up. The idea of an NDA was so mysterious, and I thought I had arrived. This was a dream job. So I thought, while the job was cool and totally my brand, and looked freaking sweet on a resume for a few years, the reality is that me and 20 other new grads who were severely underpaid worked for this studio who was a subcontractor of a subcontractor of a subcontractor of a subcontractor of a very important and mysterious overlord. This studio must have won the gig for a really low bid because they really didn't pay as much. I didn't know about these things back then. From 7 p.m. to 3 a.m., we'd be frame by frame animating masks to crop out live action video, each mask to a separate layer so that when you wore those 3D glasses, everything would appear at different lengths from your eyes. Each segment was 2,000 frames long. Try masking out hundreds of slightly out of focus soft curls with 100% accuracy and no edge feathering allowed, and keeping your layers straight. That was living, my friend. It sucked. My barista jobs paid more, but experience of a lifetime, or so I thought. I realize I'm totally alienating myself by saying all this, but I knew none of this when I was new, and it would have changed how I approach things, like pay, for example. Right after the scenes the studio was contracted for were done, me and the rest of the young third shifters were also just, done. No working for employment here, no sir. That was for first and maybe second shifters. Months later, they did call for another gig, but by that time I learned that my time was better spent honing in even more on my craft in aspects that I actually wanted to explore, and, getting paid. Also, the job was 4 hours and 1 state away. Oh, and the kicker! We weren't even allowed to use what we sweated and bled over for weeks in our demo reels, because Big Overlord owned the footage and technically whatever we made. Check and double review your contracts, friends. The myth of job security and one-way loyalty to the company. But if I have a real job, I'll have job security, right? Wrong! It seems really neat and nifty in that ulcer disappears. You can afford things, even pay off debts and eat okay food once in a while. You have health insurance. Until the new manager comes in and one by one fires the excellent and faithful employees with years at the company to hire people that they know will be loyal to them. So much for family. Also, animation studios close all the time. Friends of mine have just been let go with no notice. Whole teams, even after stellar years of internal reviews, so always have a side hustle, even with a job. That sounds kinda like having a YouTube channel already going strong. That's your ticket. Same scenario with a TV show pilot crew. You have this dedicated crew who are maybe hired if the show is approved for network. Depends on who's doing the hiring. Same thing, slightly different industry. Commonality, it's a creative field. Unpaid internships and/or trial run assignments. While we're here, let's talk about this. Taking an unpaid internship says you are willing to work for free and that your time is valueless. Sure, really shine and they can hire you for not much because you've already proven you're willing to work for nothing. Your time has value. Also, these should be illegal as they eliminate most candidates from the job opportunity. Only those with privilege can afford to take them on. Got bills and responsibilities? Well, heck, you're not going to be able to work for free easily. This is a huge problem and it's got to stop. So yeah, this is my rants or advice or observations. I know not everywhere is like these places that I talked about. There are some gems. You do you. But for me, after working for other people for a decade making other people's dreams come to life, I saw again and again how disposable employees are to companies. How there's little loyalty to the people that make everything work, but enthusiastic loyalty is expected in return. How pay is barely enough to break even, let alone get ahead on student loans, pay rent, and eat food. And I don't mean to paint this grim picture, but this is where I was at when I realized that each individual, especially creative ones, need to make their own luck. I needed to make my own luck. If I fail, and I still may, I'll know I tried. This is scary. Livelihoods based on an ever-changing YouTube algorithm. But honestly, so was working at a company for 4 years, getting 5-star reviews, and then not having a job tomorrow when the studio unexpectedly closes. What I'm driving at is this. If you already have a successful YouTube channel, you are already beyond all of this. You've made your own luck against all the odds, so keep going. And for those of you on the other side of the coin, with small channels or dreams of working in animation or starting a channel of your own, know that you don't need to go to school or take on massive debt in order to be successful. You can learn by doing. Surround yourself with a community that helps you grow. If you have any questions about anything animation industry related, let me know in the comments below. I really wished I had somewhere to go for this stuff, so let's keep this conversation going. And best of luck, you're gonna do great! And if you have a differing experience or opinion, we can totally discuss it like civil human beings too. Pool our knowledge. Woohoo! Okay, this was a tough pill to swallow, I know. Anyway, we're back to making awesome animations, and there's a really cool, spooky, and of course, awkward one in the works, so if you want to check it out when it comes out, SUBSCRABE, yes, subscribe! Yeah, subscribe! Oh god, sorry, bye!